this is pretty big news. And I don't, there was definitely some question about it. I don't think it was a fait accompli. And it certainly was, I think, somewhat contingent upon how the Democrats did in this past election. Here is Nancy Pelosi on the floor of the House yesterday.
Scripture teaches us that for everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven. My friends, no matter what title you all, my colleagues, have bestowed upon me, speaker, leader, whip, there is no greater official honor for me than to stand on this floor and to speak for the people of San Francisco. This I will continue to do as a member of the House, speaking for the people of San Francisco, serving the great state of California, and defending our Constitution. And with great confidence in our caucus, I will not seek re-election to Democratic leadership in the next Congress. For me, the hours come for a new generation to lead the Democratic caucus that I so deeply respect. And I'm grateful that so many are ready and willing to shoulder this awesome responsibility. Madam Speaker, standing here today, I'm endlessly grateful for all of life's blessings.
There it is. And so, I mean, my first response is like, good for her. And maybe that can be sort of a little bit of a hint for some of her colleagues in various positions around the Capitol building.
Well, Steny Hoyer took note and is stepping away as well.
Clyburn too.
And Clyburn as well. I have some issues with, the sort of the anointing of their followers as if this was a, some type of royal ascension type of situation. We'll talk about that in a moment. But what are your thoughts, Heather?
Well, I think she had to do it. I mean, I agree with you that it was really probably contingent on whether or not they kept the House with, that narrow majority that was going to go either way. Had it stayed that way, I think she might have stayed for another 2 years to manage that very narrow majority, which is very difficult, as we're going to watch with some glee as Kevin McCarthy attempts to do it. And I don't think he has nearly the skill. Well, I know he does not have anywhere near the skill that Nancy Pelosi does. So she may very well have just waited to find that out. It certainly seems that way. But it's time. I mean, we knew that. I had kind of expected her to retire in 2020. And if they'd had a larger majority, I think it might have happened then. She's been grooming this, Hakeem Jeffries and this crew for a while. And what you say is true. I find the anointing to be rather bizarre, frankly. I don't understand. The party's half and half. There's plenty of new blood in there. I'm a little surprised that I haven't heard more from other Democratic, other Democrats in the Progressive Caucus, or maybe even Blue Dogs, from the Midwest or something, saying, hey, we have a right to do this too, and more of a battle for the leadership. And it may still happen. I mean, this is still, early days, and everyone's basking in the tributes to Pelosi and maybe just trying to be, decent about it for the moment, and maybe the knives will come out soon. But I really am surprised. I knew that Jeffries was in line to be speaker, and I knew that he was the choice of the Pelosi, leadership group. But I didn't think everybody else assumed that. I thought There were a bunch of other people who were thinking that too. So we'll wait and see what happens there. But I wouldn't be surprised to see more of a battle than this. They may win in the end. But there's no margin in Democrats keeping it together at the moment. They can afford a fight on this. Him
getting out ahead of it is a massive advantage. I mean, and they already have this kind of like 3-person ticket of who is going. They're all banding together. It's Catherine, Catherine Clark, and from Massachusetts, and that's what's most concerning to me here is that you hear rumblings like, Jayapal might consider running now. And it's like, why haven't the progressives had a plan on this front from the get-go? Because everyone has known that Hakeem Jeffries was being groomed for this position, and now he has a head start. And I feel like once that narrative is written and those connections are made, now we have another Speaker of the House who might even be more hostile to the left than Nancy Pelosi. I mean, he worked with Josh Gottheimer on that True Blue PAC or Real Blue or whatever the hell that thing is, which was explicitly designed to make sure that progressives were not challenging incumbents. And so that is quite concerning to me, at least.
Well, I think it's concerning to a lot of progressives. I mean, Hakeem Jeffries is not a favorite of progressives and never has been. I mean, he is a member of the Progressive Caucus, as is Catherine Clark. And the third in line, Pete Aguilar, he's downright almost conservative. I mean, he's really not much of he's from California, but he's kind of down from my area here. And I can tell you that progressives around here don't consider him a particular ally. So, you have, these three. Now, keep in mind that the main skill of a speaker and a leadership group like this is fundraising. That is what they do, and that is what they are known for, and that is how they get their way. Nancy Pelosi was incredibly skilled at that and had other skills to go along with it. I mean, Kevin McCarthy's a great fundraiser, but that doesn't mean he's going to be able to run that fractious caucus that he's got now. But that's that's how they prove themselves to get into leadership. And I don't know about the progressives. Like, I think we all thought that maybe Pramila would run. I mean, maybe that ill-considered letter that they sent out a couple months ago seems to have maybe, cast a pall a little bit on her. I don't know if anybody's still thinking that, but that was my impression. But that shouldn't mean anything. I mean, she's still the spokesperson for the progressives, I think, in the House, and she's shown great skill, I think, in wrangling that group and wrangling her people to kind of, try and maintain some, integrity in all these negotiations, while at the same time exercising their power to, to get some things. So I think she's shown some great skill. Maybe she will run. I mean, maybe that's going to happen. I don't know, but you're absolutely right that these guys getting out in front like this with the imprimatur of the Queen and her court is a huge advantage. I mean, it's huge.
And the only upside, we had talked about this. I know that you and I had talked about it in 2020. Maybe it was in the run up to her, in the run up to her. The Democrats, in the run, maybe in the wake of the 2020 election, or even in the run up to the 2020 election, when Tim Ryan was starting to contemplate to challenge her, and we should say, you can look over in what's happened with the Republicans. The Freedom Caucus is probably 10 times the size of let's say the Squad at this point. Maybe it's going to be less now with new people coming in, but there's probably at least 50 members of the Freedom Caucus.
I think it's more now.
And the distance between the Freedom Caucus and the rest of the Republican Party has narrowed, I think, over the past 5 or 6 years.
Oh, absolutely.
Frankly, and they were unable to unseat McCarthy, and so the power disparity is still an issue. The thing that I liked about Tim Ryan perhaps challenging Pelosi was that, like, he clearly, and I don't think it's quite there in the same way with Hakeem Jeffries, because there's an assumption, because he's a member of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. He's a member of, obviously, the Congressional Black Caucus as well. There is a sort of, I think, a misapprehension as to where his politics lie. And I think there may be a benefit to having someone like a Tim Ryan, let's say, because then the Progressive Caucus is at odds with that person. And one of the problems that was difficult, I think, with Nancy Pelosi was that really, her positions were in many respects pretty conservative. Relative to someone who identified as a progressive, right? She was a member of the Progressive Caucus when she first got in from San Francisco, and we hear about San Francisco politics, and it's sort of supposed to make it seem like everybody's a radical out there. And I think in some ways that inhibited the ability of progressives to challenge her, because ostensibly it was like, why are you going after one of your own? And there's almost some more freedom to openly challenge somebody where the presumption is they're from different wings of the party. And they're clearly from different wings of the party. And setting that up becomes helpful in that respect because you don't look like you're attacking one of your own. Now, none of this is really going to be too relevant for the first 2 years, right? Because there's no legislation that's passing.
That's right.
That's not happening. And but really, this is about setting it up for a time in the future. Nancy Pelosi's been in that position. The leader of the Democrats in the House for at least 16 years, right? And so that's a long time. And Hakeem Jeffries could be that guy for a long time, and you don't want him there if you get into a position where you have control of the Senate again and you have a president, because those bodies are actually moving more to the left, it seems to me, at a pace that is faster than the House. And I don't know if that is your assessment of it as well. But the Senate, 10 years ago, the Senate was a much more conservative place for Democrats.
Oh, absolutely.
I would argue even the presidency, regardless of what's in their hearts or not, Joe Biden, his positions are to the left of Barack Obama's. It's not to be confused with him being, AOC, but his positions are to the left because the Democratic Party, the Democratic voters, are to the left of where they were, I think, also 10 years ago. But the House does not necessarily reflect that in the same way. We're seeing the sort of the squad and squad adjacent growing, but the center of the House still feels pretty conservative to me. Hey, this video is sponsored by Established Titles. What is Established Titles? It is a fun novelty gift that also helps you preserve some natural woodlands. It's a project based on historic Scottish custom where landowners are referred to as lairds or lords and ladies in English. Title packs give you at least 1 square foot of dedicated land with a unique plot number. So what happens is they plant a tree with every order. They work with global charities, One Tree Planted and Trees for the Future, to support global reforestation efforts. And you get one of these certificates. I'm a lord. I'm also a lady, too. I can be both. There's no reason I can't be. The first 200 people purchasing a title pack using my link will effectively be next to our plot. If you want to become a lord and lady, we can create our own majority report kingdom. So check it out. You can also, on official documents where they use a prefix, you can call yourself lord or lady. It makes an amazing last-minute gift. Established Titles is actually running a massive Black Friday sale right now. Plus, if you use the code MAJORITY, you get an additional 10% off. Go to establishedtitles.com/majority to get your gifts now and help support the channel.